have to unmute myself.
Okay, so, hey, good evening, everyone. This is Bruce Kipper, the principal at Shelton High School. We are live on Monday, September 21st for our weekly parent forum. Tonight, we've got 3 people with us that are going to share some information. Well, 2 of them are going to share some information up front, and then the third one is here to answer any K-12 questions we might have or any other academic questions. So the first person we have with us is Trevor Leopold. Mr. Leopold is our Director of Athletics and Activities at Shelton High School. We also have Susie Wierzbicki, who is one of our counselors, one of our school counselors that specifically works with our freshman students and the Freshman Academy. And then we also have June Doomers here. Ms. Doomers was here last week, and she oversees a lot of our academic programs and is very well versed in K-12 and can probably handle any questions on K-12 we might have tonight. So first of all, thank you for joining us. I know that everybody's very busy, and it seems like it's getting more and more hectic now as the school year gets going, and everybody is super busy. So I really appreciate, and we all appreciate you taking the time to watch our forum. Again, if you have questions, you can enter them in the chat box, and I will, once we get done, I will read the questions and we will answer your questions. If we can't answer it for some reason, we will get the answer and get back to you or get back to parents as a whole and the school email. Once again, we use School Messenger to send out our emails. It's the primary way we communicate with our families. So if you have not received any emails from me through School Messenger, if you would email me and let me know so I can check your email in the student information system and make sure we've got the right email. I know at the beginning of the year, we were having some issues with the emails going to junk and spam folders. So if you haven't received one, you might want to check there first. If you find one in there, just mark it as not spam or not junk, and then it should just go to your inbox. I think we have the problem resolved for the most part. We've changed who the email says it's from. So it'll say no reply at sheltonschools.org. And since we started doing that, we've had pretty good success with it not going to parents' spam or junk folders. So a couple of things we want to share with you before we start answering questions. We know and we understand that one of the most important aspects of our students that we really want to pay attention to is social emotional health. And Ms. Wierzbicki is here tonight to share some information from the counseling department about basic services that are offered, how to contact the counselors, some other social emotional health and wellness information. We also have Mr. Leopold. We also realize that it's very important that we do our best to try to get some consistency and some routine into our students' lives. Many of them are missing very important activities and athletics and different clubs and those type of things that provide the students with the camaraderie to their friends and their classmates. They provide that socialization and gives them a sense of belonging to the school. When we're completely online like we are now, it's very easy to lose that sense of school community. And that is so important to not only our students, but our staff and our school community as a whole. Believe it or not, our staff dearly misses our students being on campus. Nobody wants our students back in school more than our staff does, and more than I do, and anybody that works at Shelton High School or the Shelton School District. So Mr. Leopold is going to share some information with regards to how we're going to gradually reopen our school to activities and athletics. So first, I think I'll have Mr. Leopold go first. And just before he starts, we have to submit a proposal to the county health department before we, in better, for lack of better words, reopen our school to visitors, students, those things that come on, that are going to come onto campus. So we are in the process and of different phases of submitting our plans. So Mr. Leopold is going to tell you where we're at with athletics and activities. Go ahead, Trevor. I think you got to unmute, Trev.
Sorry, I did that.
It's all right.
As I was saying, I can't believe it's been almost 9 months since we actually had any kind of activity here on campus. The time has just gone really fast, and it's killing me not seeing our kids compete, and our kids have such joy playing sports here and doing activities. And we really want them to get back on campus here so we can start getting, as Bruce said, that consistency and having something for them to do besides schoolwork. We started actually meeting back in April as a committee, and we had an athletics and activities committee put together, and we met once a week and then once every other week. And we had to put together a pretty comprehensive phases in for reopening for athletics. And it's an 11-page document that has a bunch of information on there. We did submit that document to the health department a couple weeks ago for specifically just for athletics and activities. And when we were ready to open up those activities, it was approved by the health department. So we were really excited about that. We have something in place where when we are allowed to have kids come back on campus for athletics, we do have a trainer that we have who's going to be checking in the coaches. We'll have all the health screenings, all the questions, temperature checks like that. And then also the kids will be checked in by either the trainer or the coaches. And how it's going to work basically is currently we have an open coaching period from the WIAA, which is September 28th until November 30th. However, we have a lot of construction still happening here. Our construction was supposed to be done by now, but we are delayed. So we don't plan really on starting to have practices until probably October 5th or October 12th. But we will get that information out to the parents as soon as we can. And right now, currently for those practices, we'll have swimming, girls basketball, boys basketball, volleyball, baseball, football, dance, girls soccer, and cross country. That doesn't mean we won't have more coaches that are willing to come back and do that coaching window, but that is what we have currently signed up. So how practices will work is they will be modified practices, and we will have pods of 10 starting out. And those pods of 10 will stay together at all times. So every time they come to a practice, those 10 kids will have to stay together with a coach. If something were to happen, like one of the kids would get sick, we have steps in place that we would have to have that pod of 10 kids not come on campus for a couple weeks and make sure that they get a COVID test. So if there was somebody that was sick and they don't feel well, they would have to go get a COVID test. And if they're come back negative, then that pot of 10 can come back onto campus. An example of a practice would be for soccer, you'd have limited sharing of balls within the pods. We'd have to disinfect the equipment frequently. They'd be able to use their feet only, no heading or using of hands, and they wouldn't be able to have contact with the other kids. So basically it's drills and skills is what we'd be working on as far as all of our athletics go. As I said, we are allowed to start practices on the 28th next week, but we're going to push that back a couple weeks until our construction is done. I sent out an email to all the parents this morning. We are having a new online system where you can register your kid. We're not going to have packets anymore. So basically, when you register your kid for athletics, you have to go to Final Forms. The link was in the email I sent this morning. If you did not get that email, if you go to the Shelton High School athletic page, there is a link on there as well. You have to have your student athletes sign up on Final Forms in order to practice, and they have to have a physical that's either updated and is good through December, or you have to go get a physical. Now, I have some really good news, and you'll get some information on this very soon. But on October 1st, we are going to have a free sports physical clinic here on campus. This is going to be done by Pacific Lutheran University School of Nursing. We're going to send out an email. There will be time slots where you sign up. Parents have to accompany your kid. You'd come in. We'd follow protocols. You would get your sports physical. It will be free, and then you will be good to go for 2 years. If you do sign your kid up and you do not have your physical, that is okay. We still have the list of all the physicals that have been turned in for the last 2 years. We will be going through those physicals, and if you don't hear from us, you should be good as far as your physicals go. We do ask that when you do come to campus, one of the criteria for practices will be each kid has to bring their own water bottle, and they have to bring a towel. That is, first of all, we can't share water fountains, and also for cleaning stuff. You have to have your own towel, so when you clean off your own equipment. You are required to wear a mask when you are on campus. However, there are some activities where you will not have to wear a mask. Obviously, if you're swimming in the pool, it's kind of hard to swim with a mask on. So there are some criteria in our plan where you're not required to wear a mask. Another one would be cross country. If you're running out by yourself, going for a run, you're exercising very heavily. You're not required to wear a mask. But however, when you get back and you're talking to the coach and the other kids in the group, you have to put your mask back on. So as far as seasons go, we were really hoping that we were going to have a fall season. The fall season was supposed to start back in September 7th, and that was going to be cross country, boys golf, and boys tennis. The entire state decided that through the health departments that wouldn't be a good idea. So our current schedules for the WIAA activities will be, our first season is going to be January 4th through February 28th. And that is going to be boys basketball, girls basketball, bowling, boys swimming, and wrestling. It's basically your same winter sports. After that, we're going to follow with our fall sports. That starts on March 1st and goes through April 25th. However, football is going to start on February 17th because they need a couple extra weeks of practice to get in shape physically. Those sports are cross country, boys golf, boys tennis, volleyball, girls swim, girls soccer, football, and cheerleading. And then after that, we'll have our spring season, which will be April 26th through June 20th. And that'll be girls tennis, fast pitch, track and field, baseball, girls golf, boys soccer, and dance. So again, I just want to clarify or make sure that you all understand that if your kid would like to sign up for the practice session, which will start here in a couple weeks, as I said, we'll get that information out as soon as we can. You need to register your child on Final Forms. You can find that link on the website and the athletic website at the high school. And as far as activities, that is another huge part of our school. We have about 50 to 60 activities and clubs that we have here on campus. Now, there are going to be some activities and clubs that we might not be able to do this year, but there might be some activities and clubs that we can do a lot of. So an example, we probably aren't going to be able to play disc golf. We probably aren't going to have an outdoor club this year. Those are things that we'll still have next year. We promise we're not going to get rid of them. It's just kind of hard with the protocols that we have in place to be able to do that off campus. Another something that we have to do, obviously, is ASB. That is something that we have to do. But I'm going to be meeting with all the club advisors here in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to determine they're either at 4 levels. They're going to have no club. They're going to have a limited club. Basically, a limited club means they're just basically doing their paperwork, their budget and stuff like that. They're not really meeting with the kids. The third level would be limited with students. They're actually meeting on Zoom. They're still getting things done. They're still having meetings. And the other one would be fully operational. Now, as Bruce said, we're going to try to get clubs back on campus in little groups and little pods if we can. Again, that will be me meeting with the advisors and seeing what our advisors can work out and what we can figure out and how we can make that work. I believe that is it for me. So if there's any questions, feel free to type them in the box or email me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Trevor.
Yep. 10 minutes exactly, by the way.
What's that?
10 minutes exactly.
All right. Next up, we have Susie Worsbicky with information on social emotional wellness.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. A lot of what I was going to talk about, Trevor has just given a lot of the answer to, because part of what we talk about when we talk about social emotional wellness is generating a level of community and support and connection. So a lot of what Trevor is talking about bringing kids together helps to meet some of those needs. I want to share with you a little bit of a scaffold of what it means to get in touch with your counselors and get some support. Social emotional wellness, in regular times, we have a level of balance and cooperation with our life, and we are able to move through challenges and hurdles. And then now we're in this bizarro bubble of pandemic, school, COVID land, and interruption of our lives. And it's generated a level of stress and anxiety and opportunity, and generated an experience where we've all had to like reinvent ourselves. I've been a school counselor and I've been a teacher, and I've reinvented myself a lot. So let me show you a little bit of what we've done. Here's my little screen. This is your school counseling website or a virtual office. So if you were to come in the counseling center, one of the things that you would find with us is Erin, and this is Erin Joseph. This is where you would get to meet us. You can also click on one of these tabs and you'll find us. If you are a freshman, that's where I'll go to, because I seem to know that counselor the best. That would be me. You'll find a place here where you can get in touch with us. So we're trying to offer social emotional supports that will help you to generate a level of structure and order and access. And those things will take down some of our anxiety about those things that are new and unheard of. So here's a place in my office. If you were to come to my office, you would see my dog, you would see posters. You could watch this little video over here about what it means to be a freshman. This is a number you can call and text me. You can request an appointment. You can email us. You can go to our career center. You can go to a little calming room. So there's just there's a video here of me talking to you about how much I miss you. My freshmen, I don't even know you yet. I miss you so much I haven't even met you. So this is a place where you can get some comfort and some resources and get in touch with us. Each of the counselors have one. Mr. Caffey is right here. Miss Sean Ames is right here. Carol Bennick is right here. And those are all 9th or 10th through 12th counselors that are based on your last name. So if you had your last name A through G, you would go to Sean Ames, H through N to Sam Caffey, and O through Z, you would go to Carol Bennick. And then the other resource that I want to tell you a little bit about is Victoria Bieber. And she is a half-time social worker that works with us at Shelton High. And she has put together a list of resources. So let's say you're having some struggles and you need some support, and you pop over to her community resources page, and you can say, oh my gosh, I really need some help with my mental health. I'm feeling more stressed and more anxious than I feel like I should, and I need some support. Well, here's some places that people actually, they're not just numbers, like people authentically use these resources, especially this crisis text line. So, because sometimes we really do need somebody at the moment to just talk us off the moment that we're having and hope that it changes. So I want you to know that this resources is here, and it's as part of our counseling center. And in terms of like, this is available to all of you. We know that social emotional parenting is really hard. And parenting in a pandemic is really hard. So I found some lists of some things that I think would be helpful for you to remember to tell students if you're listening, but also to tell your families, to just reinforce. It's important to remember that this is a real course. So your kids, while it's different where they're doing it, it is a real experience for them. And the content is real. And so you want to be where you hold yourself accountable, but you also don't beat yourself up. I had this was the dad day. Like, I think 5 different dads called me today saying, I need help knowing what to do with my kid because they're super stressed and I'm super stressed and I don't know how to do this. So we just talked through this idea that this is an opportunity for us to teach each other how to struggle and lean in and get support and then do things we didn't think we knew how to do. Most of us, me included, 2 weeks ago, I didn't know how to log into K-12, much less tell you what to do when I couldn't make it work the first time. But now I got it. So we're learning and trying new and different things, and we're holding ourselves accountable and we're being compassionate about it. This piece about time management is important. It's easy as an online learner to think, I can do this anytime. You can, but are you most likely to? If you have a structured schedule, you're more likely to lean into it and to make time for it. Remember that if you're taking online classes, you're also going to have homework. So that makes that experience of your daytime plus homework what you would be having if you were in school. And we all know about creating a study space and eliminating distraction and knowing yourself well and actively participating and using your friends, using your support networks. You know, probably don't even, if you've been at Shelton High before, you know your counselors. But if you're new with the freshmen, you might not even know. There are a handful of resources that I want to show parents. And we're putting these, each of the grade levels has a Google Classroom full of resources. So this is the Freshman Academy link. If you are a freshman and you want to join, all you have to do is pop that link in. There you go. And this is where we're putting together resources. Today I put an update about how to email your teachers. Like maybe it's intimidating to know how to email your teachers. So here's a place where you can go and get some information about how to do that. Maybe you don't know how to check your grades. Well, here's a place on Skyward where you can learn how to do that. Maybe you want to hear from Mr. Patching and I, where we tell you it's really okay. We're going to figure this out together. So your Google Classroom is a place where you can get some input. But what it's not is it's not two-way communication, because I'm a person who needs to know, like, can we talk about this together? So maybe you want to request a meeting with us. Well, you can email us, or you can fill out one of our meeting request sheets too and say, here's some things I'm working on. Here's some support that I would like. We also all have Google phone numbers, so you can text us as well. If you're somebody who like, I don't want to email, I don't want to make a meeting request, I just want to get in here and get some information. Well, text us and we'll make a plan together. So your school counselors help you to make academic and personal, social, and career and college readiness goals. And we try to gather resources to help you find your own best plan. And we want to help you get anything that's in your way out of your way so you can keep going. We can't get rid of a pandemic, but we can help you through it. Anybody have any questions? Can't hear you, Bruce.
Yep. What I'll do is I will start going through the questions.
Oh, okay.
And then if I get a question regarding activity athletics or social emotional wellness or K-12, I'll direct them to one of the three of you.
Sure.
The first question we have is, why do some kids only have 1 or 2 classes a day? That's not a correct assumption. Students are signed up for 5 classes. They could all be on K-12, or there could be a combination of classes on K-12 as well as Google Classroom. So when a student logs into their K-12 account, they're only going to see the classes that are being taught through the K-12 platform. If they log into their Skyward account, they're going to see all 5 of their classes. And then the classes that are on Google Classroom will have a GC next to them on their schedule in Skyward. So what does happen on a fairly regular basis is all students will not have live sessions in all 5 of their classes on the same day. So we've asked teachers not to schedule live sessions every day in all 5 classes, because that would be really overwhelming for students. So students have work every day. When they log into their class, when they log into K-12 and they click on their class, they're going to see announcements from the teacher that's going to tell them exactly what they're supposed to be doing that day. And there is work every day in every class for students. There's just not live lessons every day.
And Bruce, can I jump in with a
Yep.
social emotional piece about that? Is I had a conversation with a student today who was finding it stressful because she couldn't figure those things out. And so I just asked, do you have a regular workspace, and do you make a schedule every week so you can know when your lessons are? And she's like, oh, I know how to do that. Like, she just forgot she knew how to do that. So just grabbing a calendar and saying, this is when my live lessons are, this is when my things are due. That was really helpful for her.
Okay. June, is there anything else you want to add with regards to that question about K-12, or about why students don't have 5 classes every day?
No, I think that pretty much sums it up. If they don't have 5 classes on K-12, it's because the other classes are through Google Classroom. Also, you're right, it is overwhelming if you have to be. I mean, imagine being on a Zoom meeting for 5 hours every single day. It does get exhausting. And just because they're doing work on K-12, it's not necessarily just reading and answering questions. A lot of the material is interactive. Some of it, like even in math, where you have to solve a problem and it'll self-correct as you go, which is kind of nice for students to get immediate feedback like that, where they may not actually get that in a normal assignment. Like they may be doing it at home and not have feedback until the next day when they bring it to class. With K-12, you can get that feedback immediately. Also, students should be taking notes. A lot of times it's not explicitly said, hey, take notes on this. But just like regular school, it's always a good learning to take notes on the material that's being presented. So I think that's one thing that when you're learning online, that it's really, really easy to forget that you can actually use.
Athletics are allowed to do right now?
Yeah, I wrote a response to it as well, but
Okay.
we were allowed to have a summer session back, and our county was in phase 3 back in June. So June 19th, we were allowed to have kids on campus following the county guidelines. So we did have a small coaching window session where we had the powerlifting team, we had girls basketball, we had the football team, and we had a few other teams that came on campus and did some drills and stuff. And that was the normal summer coaching window. After that session ended, we can still do conditioning and we can still do weightlifting. So what we did is we moved all the equipment for weight training. We put that in the high climber gym, and we spaced it out, and we have 20 platforms in there, and they're about 12 feet apart. So we actually exceeded what the recommendation was by the county to be able to have weight training classes in there. Every kid checked in every day and got screened, and we have a log that we keep every single day just in case there was something where somebody got sick and we had an outbreak, which we never did over this whole entire time. So from that time in August until all the way up to today, we are still allowed to have weight training and conditioning on campus, and we are limiting that again to the pods, and then that has been going on ever since.
Thanks, Trevor. And also, any student that's enrolled in a PE class, right now, while we're online, the teachers, the PE teachers have a list of activities that students can do to fulfill their physical activity requirement for class. So besides some work they may have online, they're also required to do 30 minutes of exercise 3 times a week that they have to log. And one of the activities they can do is weight training. So it's really fulfilling 2 purposes, allowing kids to fulfill their PE requirement, as well as strength and condition train for their sport. And then there's a follow-up question to that about what about students not in sports? They need a social outlet. Correct. I agree 100% with you. And that's why we're working to get clubs and activities back open on campus. So where if a kid's involved in a club or an extracurricular activity, they can start meeting with their coach or sponsor also. And that's the next step in the process. So again, because they're not covered under the WIAA, we have to go through a different process to get that approved. And we're in the process of getting that approved now. Moving on to the next question. There's a question about when we do open up, and we return in some form with whether it's a hybrid or 100% in person, will we coordinate with the feeder districts like Pioneer? Yes, we would. In fact, I will make sure to call the director of instruction and also our executive director of schools, and just say that's a concern that some of our parents have. Well, all of our parents in our feeder district, quite honestly, that we need to make sure that we're coordinating with those families that don't necessarily receive all of our communication on a regular basis in our feeder district. So yes, I will make sure that that concern is communicated to our district level administrators. Again, there's another more of a, I guess, a statement of concern regarding the lack of lectures and instruction. They're being told to read things and do assignments. Again, we've talked about this before. All teachers are available during the scheduled class hour. So if a student is having some difficulty or needs more instruction, they can certainly contact the teacher during their scheduled class period. Just because there's not a live Connect session scheduled doesn't mean that the student cannot have contact with the teacher. In fact, that's why we kind of created this system, is so that teachers would be available more often during the scheduled school day. If you could imagine, if every teacher lectured every day and every period, when would students get the help they need? Because as of right now, there is no scheduled assistance in the evening. Now, we've talked about trying to create a system where there could be, but by relying on the K-12 curriculum and the instructional videos that are provided there, it does free up more time for the teachers to work with either individuals or small groups of students. So I would encourage all of our students and our families to have their students have regular contact with their teachers. I know there's one teacher that and I know there's more than one, but one that I came across, she has a live Connect session open all day. Any student can drop in at any time during the day to get help from her, or to ask her questions, or to get clarification. So if you have that teacher for first period, but your question doesn't come up until fifth period, you can still drop in and ask her a question. But again, every teacher is available during the scheduled class period. There's also some concerns regarding the tech issues that occurred during the first couple of weeks of school. Remember, the first actually the first 6 days, I believe, we focused on our advisory classes and teachers making connections with the kids and providing them the opportunity to understand the K-12 platform. So the class instruction didn't really start until, I think, June. How far into the class instruction are we now?
The class instruction started on the 10th, I believe. So, okay. Yeah, not too long.
Yeah, but again, I want to reemphasize with our parents, we are not going to penalize kids because of the tech issues. This is where there needs to be good communication between this teacher and the student. If the student is behind, we ask the student to contact the teacher and self-advocate. But we understand that some students are shy of doing that. So parents can certainly help them by contacting the teacher. and helping their child speak with the teacher, communicate with the teacher. A Zoom meeting can be set up. There could be time set up where the teacher can meet specifically with that student. And we will do everything we can to get all of our students caught back up to where they're supposed to be. So again, it just takes good communication. If you have issues with getting a hold of teachers, please email me, and I will make sure the teacher gets in contact with you, or I will try to answer your questions and provide the help that I can provide, and we will find the right people to help you. We just need to make sure that there's a two-way line of communication that's taking place, and that the teachers are aware if some students are falling behind or struggling because of the tech issues. One thing we can do is we can monitor the student's progress by going into the class list, and it provides almost like a bar graph how much progress the student has made. And so I would certainly encourage, if you haven't discovered that tool, it's under the Plan tab in K-12. But anyway, if anything, contact me and I will get you in touch with the teacher or the right person that can help provide the support that's needed. And I would also say, if you have a concern about which teams are being allowed to use again, we're not using the weight room specifically right now. We are, as Trevor said, we've moved those things into the high climber gym, so we have more space. But if you're concerned about which programs are being allowed to use it, then I would ask you to please contact myself or Trevor. Trevor, do you want to say anything else about that?
Sure. We've had girls basketball in the weight room. We've had football in the weight room. We've had powerlifting in the weight room. Every coach has the opportunity to have their team and have told all the kids that they can come in the weight room anytime they want. They just have to contact Josh Monroe, and he has time slots of so many kids that can be allowed in the weight room at one time. So if you do want to come in and weight lift, it is open after school for a couple hours. And then they have a session also from 6:30 to 8:30 at night, but that's primarily full because it is a football team.
And I can tell you that there's a comment about following the mandates laid out by the governor. I can tell you that anybody that comes onto this campus, whether they're a staff member, whether they're an athlete that's coming in to train, whether it's a delivery person that's bringing stuff in, everybody has to go through the check-in procedure, which is they have their temperature taken. They have to log in when they arrive. They also have to fill out a health attestation that answers questions with any possible symptoms or exposure they've had. And so that's everybody from the superintendent on down that comes onto this campus. So we are confident that we're following all of the health protocols that have been put out, and we will continue to do so as the health department requires.
And I do want to say that our maintenance department has been fantastic. They have gotten us all the thermometers that we need, tons of cleaning supplies, towels, sanitation, everything we need. And the custodians are constantly in there cleaning up after the kids too. So.
Hey, Susie, do you want to answer? There's a comment about students and how they're feeling with regards to, so if a student right now is feeling overwhelmed and feeling like they're falling behind, what would you recommend they do at this point?
Well, I think that those kind of things start with our thoughts in our head, and then they turn into feeling bad about ourselves, and they get balled up if we don't talk about them. So if you're hearing that from your students, it's good that they're telling you, I'm frustrated, I'm falling behind, I don't know how to do this. The first place that, and as a parent who's recently had high school kids, you want to help them, but you don't necessarily know how high school itself works. So maybe you treat it like a project where the two of you decide, hey, let's get in here and see if we can look at the calendar function. Let's get in here and look and see what these assignments look like. Let's unpack the size of this problem. But you do not need to do that by yourself. Your advisory teachers, I was trying to keep up with reading in the chat a little bit and watching, so I was kind of multitasking. It looks like some people are talking about how their advisory teachers are dialed in tight with them and their kids are able to ask questions. That person stays with you for 4 years. So that's a great relationship to lean into. And then obviously, like I've been on the phone all day and happy to do it. I'll do it over and over again. If you're feeling like, I don't know where to begin and I need a translator to this process, call your school counselor, email us. Sometimes we get so flooded and overwhelmed that it's by taking the next right step that we know we can do something, that we unhook our level of floodedness. We really can only do one thing at a time, right? Like that's all we're all learning is we can do the thing in front of us and then we can do the next thing in front of us. So slowing down our roll and organizing ourselves and leaning in and asking for help are the only ways that I figured out how to find my way through this. And we're no different. So I think it's a really important piece to do that. I also know that some of what we've had to do was absolutely grieve that school is not what we want it to be. Like we absolutely have to grieve that in a way that says, I'm mad about it. I'm sad about it. This is not okay. I miss what I need. It's a step in the right direction, but it's not the direction I want to be in. It's also not where we're going to be forever. So seeing this as a bubble of time where we're working hard together is going to be how we become the kind of people that like started school in a pandemic, graduated from high school, learning things that we never planned to know before. And trying to kind of hold space for this bigger thing that's happening is going to help us have more patience and resilience, which is going to make us more creative and more capable. So maybe a little bit of a soapbox, but it seems like we're all in this place now with our fatigue around. Our pandemic fatigue is real. So thank you.
Thanks, Susie. Hey, Trevor, there's a comment or a question with regards to safety and students lifting. Are students that are here lifting, are they being allowed to use spotters or not?
Yeah, we can't have a back spotter or a front spotter. We have to have two side spotters. So if we do have lifts where they need a spotter, we can have two people stand off to the side of the bar.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
There's also there's been a few comments tonight with regards to just the students feeling as if they're falling behind or getting behind, feeling the stress of that. And here's what I would recommend. I would recommend it if you feel that your son or daughter is falling behind. They're great. First of all, check Skyward for the grades. Don't check K-12. The Skyward is where we're telling teachers to put the grades because everybody has access to Skyward, whether you have a Google Classroom or whether you have a K-12 class. The second thing is if they are falling behind and they're starting to feel overwhelmed, contact the teacher. The teacher has the authority and the autonomy to make decisions with individual students about how to get that student caught up, what's going to be required of that student, and the best way to handle that student going forward to get them feeling confident, to get them back up, to get them caught up. So there can be some things that can be done. So the first thing that has to happen is the teacher has to know that the student's feeling that way. So if after talking to the teacher, you feel like that there still needs to be additional assistance, then I would recommend that you contact either myself or one of the assistant principals. If you send the email to me, I will get it to the appropriate administrator. I know it's difficult to which administrator do you contact? Because they're all assigned. If they're freshmen, contact Mr. Patching. He deals with all of the freshmen. If it's a sophomore through senior, send the email to me and I will get it to the appropriate administrator, whether it's Ms. Doomers or Mr. Brisgornia. But we, again, I think if you watched any of the superintendent's community forums, he's made it very clear that we're not leaving anybody behind, that we're going to do everything we can to make sure every student has the opportunity to be successful. And that does include, I know that there are families that have connectivity issues. They have internet or they have a hotspot, but it isn't necessarily the greatest connectivity. And so if those issues exist, please make sure that you're making the teacher aware of it so that they can make the appropriate accommodations for the students. And I will, each week, I always tell you, I expect teachers to return phone calls within 24 hours, phone calls or emails within 24 hours. So if you haven't got a response, please forward that email to me and I will make sure that you get a response. There's a question with regards to a student who does not have a PE class. Can they get credit for any type of physical activity? No, they would have to, that's an option for students that are enrolled in a PE class. You know, I feel like I just kind of need to make a comment right now. And I don't know, some of you may not be happy with this. I view these parent forums as an opportunity to have two-way communication between the school and our parents. If you want to come on here and just complain, then you have a right to do that, but I'm not going to focus my energy on that. I'm going to choose to focus my energy on helping to resolve problems. I get it. Nobody's happy with being online. I get it. I'm not happy about it, but it is what it is. It's not going to change tomorrow, and it's not going to change next week. So we can all make a decision that we can work together and we can make it the best we can make it and the best it can be as it is, or we can choose to focus on complaining. And I'm not going to focus on the complaining. So, you know, I don't know what to tell you. I will do everything I can to help your son or daughter get the most out of this online experience they can. But this talk about taking all the kids out of school, I'm not going to focus on it. I'm just not going to do it. So I'm going to move forward with the questions of the people who want answers and who want to work with us. And if you'd like to email me, I'm happy to meet with anybody. And I will address every concern you have. But I'm just not going to waste time on a public forum doing that. So I apologize if that offends anybody, but we don't have time to mess around. We have to focus on helping our students get the best out of this we can. And again, if teachers are not responding to you or your students, I need to know about it. I am happy to address it. I've made it very clear to teachers what's expected. And if they're not following through on that, I need to know about it. So if your son or daughter or you are emailing teachers and are not getting a response, please send them to me so I can address it. There's a question about classes having a running calendar. So yes, we just met with all the department chairs. So each department, you know, math, science, social studies, and so on, each department has a department chair that's the leader, that is the lead of that department. We met with the department chairs last week and went over a protocol for setting up a consistent calendar for each student or for each teacher. So this week, teachers, on Friday, the teachers worked in their teacher teams, their PLCs we call them, and they started working on, one is modifying the pacing guide for the class, and then putting that information into a calendar that when students log on to their classes, they will see an announcement that lists everything that's supposed to be done for that day. And some teachers are even listing what's supposed to be done for the week. So June, do you want to speak more to that?
Yeah, the only thing that if you can remember, some teachers are more tech savvy than other teachers. And as we're trying to teach everybody how to do this, some teachers may have already gotten it done. Some teachers may be getting that done over the next week. So please be patient with those teachers. And again, just like Mr. Kipper said, if you have any questions, please ask, because that's the only way that we know that you guys are not understanding, or, maybe we think that something is perfectly clear and it's not, and that happens. So we don't know that unless somebody tells us. So please, we really do want feedback, because we want to make this the best system for the students, parents, and teachers.
Thanks, June. Again, I would say that there's some comments regarding following the health protocols. If you see some, he has been very clear. I've been very clear on what we expect from our staff when they're bringing any students onto campus, and so if you see something, we need to hear about it. So contact Mr. Leopold or I, and we will certainly address it with those involved. There's a question or comment regarding teachers and whether they can be moved or not. I would, if you think your son or daughter needs to be moved to a different teacher, whether it's advisory or a class, I would contact your school counselor and see what the options are. Right now, this far into it, the options probably aren't very good that a student would be moved at this point, unless there's a circumstance that would dictate that. But the only way to know that is by contacting your counselor and speaking with them about the situation. There's a comment in there about me not returning an email. If I didn't return your email, then I would hold me to the same standard as I asked you to hold everybody else. I'm not immune to either making mistakes or not seeing something. But one of the things, I may not be good at a lot of things, but one of the things I am good at is responding to people. So if you didn't get a response from me, I would suggest you either send it to me or send it to the superintendent. He'll get it to me. I would not expect to be held to any different standard.
One of the questions asks about small groups and gathering, like if there's a club like a D&D club, and Sam Caffey runs a game theory club. I don't know if it's up and running again yet, but if you email me, I'll help you get connected to them. So Sam has done some of his game theory.
I was going to say Sam's club has been running since March and is actually flourishing right now online. So yeah. He's doing a very good job.
Thank you.
My email's in the chat. If you know Sam's, email him. But if you don't, you want to email me, he's right down the hall. I got you.
Do you want me to talk about the emails?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just
So,
reading through the questions.
There's a question about clarifying which email to use to email the teacher. It depends on whether you're talking about the student emailing the teacher or a parent emailing the teacher. In K-12, there's a specific a quick K-12 inbox for the teacher, and you can only get to that inbox, or you can only send a message to that inbox to the teacher if you mail it from a K-12 account. So if you have a Learning Coach account or you're on a student account in K-12, it will go to the teacher's K-12 inbox. If a student or a parent tries to email with a regular civilian email, like Gmail or Yahoo or something like that, Comcast, whatever it might be, if you try to email the K-12 address for the teacher, it will get blocked. It only allows emails that come from within the system. However, if you go to Skyward and you get the email for the teacher off of the contact teacher, or I think it's a highlighted blue hyperlink, then that teacher, the first initial last name at sheltonschools.org, that will go to their regular email box, and it doesn't matter if you email it from like Yahoo or Gmail or anything like that. But when you're in K-12, you can only email to other addresses that are in K-12. So if you're going to email outside of that, you want to email the teacher at their @sheltonschools.org address. Hopefully that clarifies that a little bit. I think it's the difference between intranet, where like K-12 is like an intranet, it's internal into the organization, and the sheltonschools.org is just regular internet.
Okay, that's good information. That seems to be all the questions that we had. There was a comment on in response to my little diatribe, I guess, about the purpose of this forum, about this is the only way you can be heard. I would respectfully disagree with that. The best way to be heard is call me. You know, in all honesty, nothing can be done by expressing. I mean, I get everybody's frustrated. I get it. And, you know, I'm frustrated. I've been in education for 32 years, and it's the first time I've been at school and there's been no students here. I've had 33 first days of school, and it's the first one where no kids showed up. So that's just not the way school's supposed to work. You know, there's times where we feel helpless here. Like, you know, our kids are remote. Some of our kids live, you know, not close to our school. They live far away from our school. You know, we have a security guard that's been driving all over the county delivering hotspots. And so we are doing everything we can, and we will continue to turn over every rock and stone to provide help. So if you want to be heard and you want to be taken seriously, call me, email me, and I will call you back. That's the way we're going to get through this. So I get it. I understand. And if I offended anybody, I apologize. But we just have too much at stake to just get off target and not focus on what we're supposed to be doing. And that's helping all of our students. And I may not have the answer for you on here, but I will find the answer. I will use every resource possible to find an answer to help your son or daughter. So I would just, again, ask if you are frustrated, if you have concerns, if you just want to vent, just call me. So I appreciate everybody taking the time. And again, you know, we're all, as I know that people are probably tired of hearing to say this, but we're all in this together. And we will continue to work hard. We'll continue to try to solve our problems. And we'll try to solve your sons or daughters' problems also. So anyway, I want to thank everybody again. Have a great night. And you know, just contact us. That's all I can ask. Okay. Thank you very much. Have a great night. And until next week, we'll see you then.